Morning Nerdigans, this is the one and only Packer Girl 89, and today's book Nerdigan discussion video is going to be on The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and I'm probably going to include Never Fate as well, because this is a reread for me, and a lot of booktubers have read this series, so that's why I'm doing it this way. But I'm going to start off with something a little bit different. I was curious to see if this could really happen, because Alexandra Bracken has the set in our time. And I looked it up, and the president could extend his term if the war, I think it falls under the War Powers Act of 1973, and I think it also is included in martial law. Otherwise, the only other way president can have a third term is to repeal the 22nd Amendment. So, there's that. And Congress disbanded would only happen, I think my friend said would only happen during a civil war, which is happening in this case. And I noticed, I'm thinking about it, and I think this is where it really sets to fiction. I don't think, I remember seeing, reading that, there was aid from China and stuff like that. I don't see that happening. I don't see aid from China or Russia happening. And that was the only thing that kind of bothered me. And I was curious to know as well. I might tweet out Alexandra Bracken and ask her if she thought that the new world power would be China. And plus you got the stuff with Iran going on to take into account. So I'm curious what she was thinking when she was, writing the Foreign Aid. Because I don't think China would help us worth shit. Honestly, I think China would throw us under the bus. But, with London and Canada, I wasn't surprised with that. I wasn't surprised when she mentioned that Mexico built a wall. Well, I was kind of surprised because, but as soon as all this crap, all the IAAN was happening, it kind of made sense to me why Mexico did that. And I wouldn't put it past Mexico, because Mexico, I'm sorry if I offend people, actually I'm not too sorry, but I have to say it, is if Mexico, Mexico relies on us. Mexico is trying to suck off our teeth, basically. So, if there's something bad like IAAN happens, that's going to come with it. And they will build a wall. I wasn't surprised about Canada. That doesn't surprise me at all, because it's Canada. Canada would totally do that. I could totally see that happening. The other thing is the UN sanctions on the U.S. Okay, this is what I don't think that could happen, because if we defaulted on our debt, we fund the UN, so the UN would probably be screwed unless China started funding the UN, which I totally doubt they would do, or Britain, which maybe Britain would do that. But then again, Britain is staying out of the EU. Britain wants to get out of the EU, so I don't know. But, I just don't see that happening. I don't see the UN doing that without risk of losing their funding. That's where, when I read that, I was thinking, okay, this is where the line gets drawn to where it's total fiction, because I just don't see it happening. I think the countries would want to do it, but at the same time they can't, because majority of their funding is coming from the U.S. from the U.S. So I just don't see that being realistic. Default on the U.S. debt, I can't see that happening. I can see a lot of the financial predicaments that came with the default of the debt happening. I'm just curious if Alexandra Bracken researched that, because that's pretty realistic. But but as I mentioned, I don't see any goddamn way of Mexico building a wall. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, I can talk about what I like to first the Darkest, some of my thoughts on the Darkest Minds. I really enjoyed when Zoo and Ruby spent time together. I thought that was really good. And something that I was thinking is that I just thought about this is that I'm wondering if Alexandra Bracken based like the camps kind of like a World War II, like a World War II style camps, because that's what it kind of reminded me of. It's like a futuristic World War II kind of thing. But I was sad. Here's what I thought of East River. East River, I thought, was kind of like, I know I'm getting political here, but this is just what I picked up from it. And if Alexandra Bracken wants to respond to this video with the answers to some of my questions, that would be freaking awesome. But what I'm curious on was the East River inspired by communism, or inspired by, actually the correct question would be, was it kind of inspired by communism and by I'm thinking by Stalin, because Stalin Clancy is kind of like a Stalin in a way, because if he doesn't like it what you're saying, then he'll totally fuck you over. So yeah, I'm kind of curious on that, because that's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of a Stalin or a Hitler or a Mussolini, especially like a Hitler or a Mussolini, because Hitler in the 30s, Hitler was a very smooth talker. So I'm just curious on that. But I thought it was crazy when there was that mine rape that was happening. That was so insane. That scene freaked me. And it freaked me out, but it was just totally like a brain. It was totally like a trip. It was like Ruby was on acid or something. And that was fucked up of Clancy. Clancy's an asshole. But yeah, and the other thing was when Chubbs got shot at the end, I was like, no, not Chubbs. I love Chubbs. At first, when I did my first read, I was kind of meh on Chubbs, but then after I reread, and then I read in the Afterlight, oh, I have so much respect for Chubbs. Chubbs is awesome. Chubbs is really awesome. Let's see, we're at 7:52. Alright, then I'm gonna probably stop, or just do Darkest Minds and here, and then I'll do Never Fade in a separate video. Oh, and we have couples. We have Libby, which is #Libby, and I'm just trying to think what else Clancy reminded me of. It wasn't like Clancy wasn't like Nico. What was Clancy like? Clancy is kind of like Luke from the Percy Jackson series, because he had an idea of what he wanted, and then he kind of went against it for his own selfish purposes. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I can actually talk about it in this video. So I got, as I mentioned in Blood of Olympus, I use books, stuff from my books for everyday conversation. And when I was at my friend's house and I was reading The Darkest Minds and Never Fade and In the Afterlight, we were talking about colors. And I was thinking to myself, okay, so maybe I'll do it in Never Fade, which I will mention the gods and their color, the god's eye colors. But anyway, that's what I really wanted to say about The Darkest Minds. My theory that maybe it was kind of like the camps were based off of World War II, and I did give you some insight, so please share, comment. I want to know what your favorite part of The Darkest Minds was by Alexandra Bracken. And I will see you in the next video for Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. Keep nerding on, book nerdigans.